The Amazing World of Gumball is a high-quality series, but like all shows, it has episodes that the community considers bad. I've seen many debates about them, like the laziest and the limit are trash. My goal is different. I want to find the good in these chapters, as their strong points are often forgotten. My mission is to uncover what treasures are hidden in what many call the worst of the series. I invite you to stick around until the end to discover with me what these episodes have to offer. Development. We're going to review the episodes again, but for a different reason. To find the good and the bad. To see what the episode got right. The strong points and good moments are often overshadowed in discussions about them, and I'm more interested in seeing what even the worst episodes have to offer. My goal is to perform a kind of television archaeology, digging in the often hostile ground of the least loved chapters to unearth the moments that still shine. This analysis will be subjective, as it is based on my personal ranking of the 20 worst episodes. Although it's been a while since I did that, so I've changed some to be more in line with my current opinion. The re-evaluation of these episodes has allowed me to see them with a new perspective, noticing details I overlooked at the time. Here are the episodes analyzed. Season 1, Episode 11, The Laziest. The episode kicks off with a classic series premise. Richard, in his infinite laziness, claims to be the laziest person in all of Elmore. To prove his point...
Hi, this is Lazy Larry.
Hey Larry, it's
But I'm too lazy to pick up.
To prove his point, he challenges Gumball and Darwin to a laziness contest, where the loser has to do the household chores. The boys, despite their best efforts, can't even come close to their father's levels of inactivity. Desperate, they resort to a crazy solution. They seek out Larry, the hardest working man in town. They discover that before his transformation into a workaholic, he was known as Lazy Larry. To revert his personality, Gumball and Darwin set out to ruin his life, taking away his car, his house, and his girlfriend. Although they succeed in making Larry fall into a deep depression and regain his old laziness, Richard still wins the contest. The Larry subplot, while funny, doesn't quite mesh with the main story, but the idea of laziness as a challenge is very creative. A point in its favor is that most of the action takes place in the Wattersons' living room, which demonstrates the writer's inventiveness in generating comedy in a limited space. Season 1, Episode 16, The Kiss. This is the first episode to feature Granny JoJo, who comes to the Watterson house to babysit the children. Her first action, a kiss on the mouth to Gumball, leaves him completely traumatized. Gumball can't eat, sleep, or do anything without thinking about the kiss. Darwin, in a desperate attempt to help his brother, tries to make him go through even more disgusting experiences. The narrator admits that he doesn't hate this episode, as it belongs to the first season, a time when the series was still defining its identity. You can see how the characters were developing, showing their more original versions. One aspect that stands out is Granny JoJo's humor, a television nerd with a very carefree attitude. Her presence is memorable, as she is able to force Aeneas to carry her up the stairs, which gives rise to Demon Aeneas, one of the most iconic moments of the series. In summary, the episode is considered a win for everyone, as despite its cringe premise, it gives rise to moments that have stayed in the memory of fans. Season 1, Episode 19, The Robot. This episode marks the first major appearance of Bobbert, the class robot. At the beginning, Gumball and Darwin encounter him after he gets made fun of for being too robotic and rigid. Moved by pity, the boys try to help him act more human so he can make friends. However, in an unexpected twist, Bobbert takes their advice a bit too seriously. Instead of simply copying their behaviors, he decides the best way to be more human is to completely steal Gumball's life. Bobbert locks Gumball in a locker and impersonates him, but his imitation is so imperfect and robotic that it's hilarious. Despite this, and the fact that he acts completely strangely, no one in Gumball's family or his friends notices the change, which becomes one of the best running jokes of the episode. Despite being an early chapter, the narrator considers it a very good episode. Although he initially disliked it, he has come to appreciate it, especially now that Bobbert has become a beloved side character. The climax of the episode is, without a doubt, the final battle in the Wattersons' backyard. Bobert's transformation into an upgraded combat form is epic and demonstrates the incredible power he possesses. The narrator highlights that Bobert's base form is already very powerful, but his transformation turns him into a monster. The scene is visually stunning and solidifies Bobert as a formidable and cool character. While also highlighting the show's absurd comedy. Season 2, Episode 30, The Limit. The Watterson family is at the supermarket, and the episode explores the limits of Nicole's patience. The kids, Gumball, Darwin, and Aeneas, won't stop bothering her to buy them things, completely ignoring her warnings. Tired, Nicole finally sends them to the car, but the kids, in their rebelliousness, refuse to obey and keep coming back to try and trick her again and again. The tension builds until Nicole, overwhelmed with frustration, reaches her breaking point. Her meltdown, while comical, is a visual representation of the stress she has accumulated from dealing with her chaotic family. The narrator admits that, at first, he hated this episode. He found it annoying to watch the family be so predictable and tiresome. However, upon rewatching it, he understood the true purpose of the plot. The family's behavior is designed to symbolize the mental exhaustion Nicole suffers from daily. The episode uses the supermarket setting very creatively for comedy. The writers take advantage of the aisles, the intercoms, and the shopping carts to create gags and chase sequences that could only happen in that place. In the end, the kids apologize, which closes the episode with a sweet ending that, according to the narrator, is a completely deserved happy ending. Season 2, Episode 32, The Promise. In this episode, Banana Joe, who is normally a happy-go-lucky and carefree character, is angry with Gumball and Darwin for not being good friends. Darwin, feeling guilty, promises Banana Joe that he will hang out with him over the weekend to make it up to him. The problem is that Gumball and Darwin already have plans for that weekend. To play a video game they have been waiting for weeks. The episode becomes a funny battle of wills between Darwin's promise to his weekday friend and his plans with Gumball, his best friend. Gumball tries to convince Darwin not to ruin their gaming weekend over a banal problem. The narrator considers the best scenes of the episode to be those without Banana Joe. He loves the dynamic between Gumball and Darwin when they interact with each other, whether they are looking for a seat on the bus or getting super excited about the video game they are going to play. Gumball's stance, who flatly refuses to sacrifice his weekend for Banana Joe, is notable and very in character. Although the narrator appreciates Darwin's loyalty, he believes the comedy arises from Gumball's exaggerated reaction. The episode uses this conflict to generate great moments, demonstrating the strong friendship between the brothers. Season 3, Episode 2, The Fan. This episode introduces us to Sarah's obsessive personality. After a previous interaction where Gumball and Darwin didn't know much about her, they now discover a side of her they wish they hadn't. It's revealed that Sarah is obsessed with them, being their #1 fan, and having stalked them for an indefinite period. When the boys confront her and ask her to stop, Sarah feels rejected and sad. To make it up to her, Gumball and Darwin decide to apologize in an unusual way, by recreating a scene from a fanfic she wrote herself. The story is a parody of a romantic drama, with a level of detail that is both unsettling and comical. The narrator admits that he doesn't like the premise of the stalking, as it's hard to feel sorry for Sarah when her behavior is so invasive. However, what he finds fascinating is the meta aspect of her character. Sarah is incredibly self-aware of television dynamics and character plots, and she often manipulates the show's narrative or makes comments that break the fourth wall. This characteristic becomes a starting point for future episodes that are highly celebrated by the community, such as The Shipping and The Test, where her meta-awareness is fundamental to the plot's development. Season 3, Episode 14, The Move. This episode focuses on Clayton, a character known for his inability to tell the truth and his power to shapeshift to fit the stories he invents. In this chapter, Clayton is still a compulsive liar who fabricates an alternate reality where he and the Watterson brothers are much cooler and more popular than they actually are. Gumball and Darwin are forced to try and help him stop lying, but their attempts only get them into more trouble. The narrator's main criticism is that, despite the character's potential, Clayton is not developed enough and doesn't use his cool shape-shifting ability throughout the episode. Instead of focusing on Clayton's abilities, the episode veers into a side plot that the narrator finds oddly amusing. The scenes where Tobias tries to flirt with every girl in school, using clumsy pickup lines he learned from the internet. The relationship between Clayton and Tobias, a character the narrator describes as pathetic, turns out to be an unexpected comedic highlight, as their personalities curiously overlap. Despite the main plot feeling underutilized, the absurd jokes and side scenes make the episode a bit more memorable. Season 3, Episode 24, The Man. Granny Jojo,
These kids, man.
known
Here's
for
the
being
blue one. Here I am. Say
Jojo,
my name.
known for being a grumpy and often depressing woman, finds unexpected joy in her life. She has found a boyfriend, Louis. Their relationship is a breaking point for Richard, who cannot accept a stranger becoming his stepfather. Richard, who still lives in the fantasy that his own father will one day return after leaving to buy milk decades ago, feels betrayed and confused. The episode focuses on his internal struggle to accept Louis, and on a deeper level, to deal with his father's abandonment. The narrator reveals that, in the past, he didn't like episodes with a sad or emotional Richard, but over time, he has come to empathize with his pain. This plot opens the door to exploring Richard's family history, which is always a good point for a main character, as it adds layers of complexity. In addition to the emotional weight, the narrator highlights that this episode also brings with it a peculiar, dad joke humor that, in his opinion, is some of the best in the series. Season 6, Episode 43, The BFFs. The episode begins with the arrival of a strange, Furby-like character named Fuzzy. Gumball is excited to see him, introducing him as his BFF, best friend forever, a friend he had before Darwin. Darwin becomes wary and jealous of Fuzzy, suspecting there's something off about him. His intuition turns out to be correct, as Fuzzy is revealed to be an evil being who lures Gumball into the woods with the intention of trapping him for an eternal playtime. The main plot centers on Darwin's struggle to save his brother. The narrator confesses that while he loves the comedy that arises from Darwin's jealousy, which turns him into a ball of sass and sarcasm, the plot of this episode feels slow and uninspired. Unlike other chapters, which use every second to develop the story or comedy, this one feels like a rehash of previous ideas, a bit weak in its execution. Despite this, the humor that comes from Darwin's jealousy and his subsequent attempt to save Gumball is what, in his opinion, makes the episode worth mentioning. Season 3, Episode 22, The Bros. This episode delves into Darwin's insecurities when the relationship between Gumball and Penny becomes more serious. After the couple's first kiss, Darwin feels left out and fears that Penny will steal his brother. This fear leads him to develop an obsessive and stalking behavior towards Penny, which eventually causes a temporary breakup between her and Gumball. The narrator confesses that he doesn't like seeing this side of Darwin, as he prefers his usual role as the voice of reason. However, the episode is salvaged by some hilarious moments. The climax of the episode, according to the narrator, is the basketball game scene. Darwin, in a fit of jealousy and frustration, becomes an incredibly skilled player, comically humiliating Penny with an aggressive flair. This scene is described as a moment of pure hater energy that is so over the top it's funny. It's in these types of situations that the episode finds its strength, rather than in the main plot. Although the central premise can be uncomfortable, the well-executed side scenes and gags manage to rescue the episode and make it memorable. Season 4, Episode 22, The Girlfriend. This episode is widely considered the worst of the entire series, and for good reason. It centers on the school bully, Jamie, who, after seeing the happy relationship between Alan and Carmen, decides she wants a boyfriend of her own. Since Darwin is the only person who doesn't immediately flee from her, he becomes her involuntary partner. The plot quickly spirals into a frustrating and chaotic mess. Jamie tries to force Darwin to love her and displays increasingly abusive behavior toward him and his family. Gumball tries everything in his power to convince Darwin to end the relationship, but Darwin, in his complete naivety, believes he can simply ride out the storm and wait for Jamie to change her ways. The narrator believes that the plot is an outright disaster, handling a deeply sensitive subject like abusive relationships, in a clumsy and irresponsible manner. It's hard to watch, and Darwin's passivity in the face of Jamie's behavior is incredibly frustrating. The episode feels more like a misguided attempt at dark comedy than a genuine exploration of character or a meaningful story. Despite all the chaos and the justified criticism, the narrator finds one single bizarre flash of genius in a completely random moment. Jamie delivers an absurd but surprisingly coherent, ancient knowledge comment about coconuts and milk, which the narrator says is the one and only thing he liked about the episode. It's a surreal joke that feels completely out of place, and yet is a small testament to the show's comedic core, even when the rest of the episode fails. Season 5, Episode 27, The Menu. In this episode, Richard overhears Gumball and Darwin talking about a supposed secret menu at their favorite burger chain.
Dad! What's going on with your face?
I think it's sword!
What's that?
Sweat made out of...
Joyful Burger. Richard becomes obsessed with the idea and launches into an epic mission. He must eat a burger from every one of the countless Joyful Burger locations in Elmore to unlock the mysterious dish. As he progresses on his mission, the narrator describes how Richard's health grotesquely deteriorates. His skin becomes greasy and his organs work overtime just to keep him alive. The mission culminates in a final scene that the narrator describes as one of the most disgusting in the entire series, with Richard on the verge of exploding from overeating, unable to taste the final dish. The narrator admits that, at first, he found this episode difficult to watch because of the disgusting final scene. However, upon rewatching it, his opinion completely changed. He now considers it a great episode because it works as a brilliant critique of the fast food industry and big corporations. The episode addresses themes such as labor exploitation, animal cruelty, and the negative health impact of fast food. What the narrator likes most is the arc of Gumball and Darwin, who go from creating food with love to being part of a heartless corporate machine. A very subtle and effective social commentary. Season 5, Episode 33, The Worst. The entire Watterson family, Gumball, Darwin, Aeneas, Nicole, and Richard, has a terrible day, each for different reasons. Gumball and Darwin are fed up with toxic masculinity. Nicole is exhausted by misogyny at work. Richard is depressed about his age, and Aeneas is frustrated with being a kid. Upon arriving home, they get into an argument about who has the worst life. The solution they find is to swap lives for a day to walk in each other's shoes. As expected, everyone has an even worse day than before, and in the end, they all come to the conclusion that everyone's life sucks sometimes. The narrator believes this episode is an example of how a good idea can be executed too obviously. He criticizes the script's lack of subtlety, which explicitly explains all the themes it addresses, without leaving room for the audience to interpret the message for themselves. Despite this, the narrator values the episode's intention to include the entire family in the main plot, a characteristic that became more common and successful in Season 5. Although the execution of the story could have been better, the narrator highlights a memorable moment from the episode, a scene where the family argues about sexism and gender differences, which shows that, despite its flaws, the episode had something to say. Close. This was just the beginning of our journey through the new Gumball episodes. If you like this ranking and want to know what surprises await us in the remaining chapters, get ready. The real adventure is about to begin. To not miss any analysis or theories about the hidden lore, subscribe and hit the notification bell. A hug, you machines.